How's it going, everybody? I've already made a couple of videos showing you guys how to make, adjust, and master the vodka soda. And I've shown you what other kinds of simple classic cocktails are immediately related to that, using the same blueprint and the same method of adjustment to really dial it in and get it right for your specific taste, or maybe the taste of your guests if you're doing this for work. Now, my favorite part. This is where we get weird. Using all of the information that I've given you guys so far, I'm going to give you a few more tips, some advanced techniques, and we're going to make a signature highball style cocktail from scratch. And it's going to get weird. My name is Nico. I go by COINTrick and cointricktwitch online. And if you haven't already, remember to like and subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll get notified anytime I make a new video like this one. So, there are different methods and different things that you can experiment with when you're trying to make a new signature cocktail from scratch. You can first try and substitute the liquor, and there are different advanced things you can do there. You can use a flavored liquor, so if you started with vodka, maybe you could try and use a citron vodka or an elderberry vodka. You can do a split base. So let's say you started with vodka, but you want it to taste a little bit more botanical. You can use equal parts vodka and gin before you build into those other ingredients. The second thing that you can do is add liqueur. And this is almost always something that I incorporate when I'm making a signature cocktail, because you can grab it off of a shelf, and I try and keep it to something that's going to be easily accessible. Adding a liqueur will also add body, it will add aroma, and it will add complexity and sweetness to your drink. The next thing is substituting the mixer, which is something that we already talked about in the second video here. So if you had that club soda, maybe trying it with tonic, trying it with ginger beer, or grapefruit soda, or Coca-Cola, or something like that, and then building it up from there. Or, and this is the stuff, like I said, this is gonna get weird, or you can build the entire cocktail around a non-alcoholic beverage that you already enjoy. So for you, if that's cranberry juice, or apple juice, or cider, or whatever, fine. And if you wanna get even weirder, you can build an entire drink around a beer. We're not going to get that weird in this video, but maybe in a future video. If you guys want to see that, let me know down in the comments. Another thing you can do is you can add bitters. Bitters will add complexity and aroma to the drink that you're making. You can also add different kinds of syrups, and the syrup doesn't need to be sweet. You can use things like maple syrup or molasses if you do want to get super weird. Quick note, if you do add a sweetening syrup, you should add some kind of citrus or some sort of acid to cut through that sweetness a little bit, or it will be a very sweet and or tart cocktail. So, before we jump into this, very key points, two main things. Keep it simple and build it in the glass the first time. If your drink isn't cold enough, which is going to be the main problem if you build it in a glass, if your drink isn't cold enough, then you may want to explore shaking it before you pour it over ice. Just remember that if you have a topper like club soda or ginger beer or anything effervescent in there, you don't shake that with your drink. You save that for last. All right, let's make a cocktail. For my signature cocktail, I'm going to be using ginger beer for my mixer, and for my liquor, or for my base, I'm going to be using Appleton Estate rum, which is equal parts a pot still rum and a column still rum. So it has kind of an ideal balance of those things. It's not going to be overly funky, it's not going to be overly clean or overly sweet. And then for all of my modifiers, all of these other fun things that I've decided to add in here, this is a homemade black tea syrup, some celery bitters, and then a little bit of lemon to add acidity and cut through those flavors. Also, remember to always have a measuring utensil whenever you're working on any kind of research and development for a signature cocktail. Now, I make the cocktail. First things first, make sure everything's open and accessible. Our bitters, our rum, our lemon. There we go. And grab some ice. Cool. I feel like I should mention this now. If you can help it at all, avoid measuring directly over the ice. And I mentioned this in a previous video for teaching you guys how to make a different drink. But the reason you want to avoid making this over ice is because it'll cause your ingredients to dilute at different ratios. Oh, I wish I would have finished with that one, actually. A little bit of ginger beer. There we go. We're gonna taste this before I decide to add that lemon. But with just that tiny bit of effort, look at how beautiful that drink is. That looks like a refreshing drink to me. But you don't know. We never know. So let's taste it. Cheers, guys. Whenever I make like a brand new signature drink, I'm always staggered that it works. Looking at these ingredients separately, at the beginning of the video especially, and I know some of you guys probably felt the same thing, they shouldn't have worked together, especially this, but you know what? The celery bitters actually lift all of the other really heavy, complex flavors like the drum still portion of the rum and the sweetness of the syrup and the ginger beer here. I don't have a name for this, and if you guys want to name this cocktail, let me know what you would call it down in the comments. It's actually not overly sweet, which is not what I was expecting. I thought I was going to have to express this lemon down in there. But if you want to recreate this at home, it's 2 ounces of the Appleton Estate rum, 1/4 ounce of black tea syrup, 2 dashes of your celery bitters, build it in the glass with ice, top it with your ginger beer, and add a little lemon wedge so that you can express that, create some juice, create some acidity in case it does come out too sweet. I hope you didn't think we were done. I'm going to show you guys how to take your signature drink, and I'm going to show you some techniques or tell you some techniques that you can use to really make it stand out, make it pop, and make it very different from what people would get at maybe even a craft cocktail lounge. The very first thing that you can do is you can make your garnish a lot more intricate, and there are lots of different ways that you can do this. You can do different things with your peels, wheels, wedges. You could use a combination of different garnishes, make it look and feel like a tiki drink. For me, the easiest thing to do with a garnish is to hand cut it and hand carve it. Do something like this. It looks better than the kind of peel you would get out of a channeler. And then you could drop that in there if you like. You could take a very thin peel, you could express that over the top, and then you'll get the oils in the drink instead of just the juice. Those are a couple of things that you can do. Another thing that you can do is you can use infused ingredients, and you can infuse these at home. So you can take your liquid ingredients like your liquor or your syrup, and you can infuse different kinds of flavors. Like you can use herbs, and if you're using herbs, I would recommend things like basil, mint, lavender, lemon verbena, or thyme. Those are some of the most common ones that I see behind the bar. You can also use fruit, which is going to be a little bit more complex because the kind of fruit that you use determines the method of infusion that you should use at home. But in a broad sense, any kind of citrus, melon, stone fruit, or berry will work really well. The last common thing that you could do is you can use spices for infusion. So things like cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice, just to name a few. The last one that I'm going to mention, and you guys know that I save the best for last, is that you can do a layered drink. So a layered drink is basically any drink that has something that floats on top, another liquid ingredient that separates out from everything else. Ideally, you want to start with something that's going to be a different color because that'll create a nice gradient over your drink. But if you want to take it a step further, and if you really want to make it weird and get tricky and make it crazy, use something flammable. I'm not saying you should do this, and if you are going to light anything on fire, please be safe. And if you're serving this to guests, make sure that they're aware of the danger too. Make sure the glass isn't too hot, make sure it doesn't stay on fire too long, and make sure that you can put it out if you need to. Now with all of that out of the way, so we're going to use Absinthe Saint George as a float. By the way, Hannah Elizabeth, thank you for gifting this to the bar. I'll apologize to John-Luc in a minute for using a tiny little bit of this. The easiest thing to do if you're trying to float something is to make sure that you have something to break up the liquid actually hitting the surface of the drink. And then when you light it on fire, make sure you have a very intense flame. And yeah, you can't see it there. You can't see it there, but it's definitely on fire. I'm recording, and I'm not going to drink this right away, so I had to put it out relatively quickly. But that's a simple, relatively easy thing that you can do at home as long as you stay safe. So, let's see what it tastes like, even with the absinthe on it. Cheers. It's just like the celery and the absinthe and the ginger and like the rum kind of creates this like landscape for everything. It's a very good drink. It's a very complex drink. I don't know if this is one that I would recommend that you try to recreate at a bar, but this is definitely something I would try and do again here at home. Meaning that it's too many ingredients and it's too many steps for me to put on a menu someplace. But if you want to make this for yourself, go for it. Go crazy. In conclusion, find one recipe for a simple classic cocktail that you already enjoy, and then learn how to dial that in for your specific tastes and for the tastes of your guests. Then learn the other classic cocktails that are associated with that, maybe neighbors, maybe 1, 2, 3 maybe ingredients away from that original recipe, and you can master those relatively easily as well. And then the next step is getting weird and making your own signature drink that you get to name, or in this case, you guys get to name. Thank you all for tuning in and sticking around. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys for all of your help and support. Hopefully I've been helpful and supportive for you all as well, since that's why we do everything that we do here. If you learned anything at all about highball cocktails, vodka soda, or maybe you have just a greater understanding and respect of the effort that goes into these very simple recipes, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you want to get notified anytime that we launch another one of these videos. And I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.